We're here with the first level of Siesta Fiesta. Can you maybe say hello?
My name's Stuart Ryall. I'm one of the co-founders and lead designer at Mojo Bones, and this is our first 3DS game, Siesta Fiesta, which should hopefully be coming out at the end of July, at the latest early August. And it's really, the inspiration behind it is it's our take on a classic block breaker game, but we've got physics gameplay in there as well, a lot of reference to pinball and classic platform games in terms of power-ups and pick-ups. Your objective is to try and get a gold medal on every level, and that's done by scoring points. And as you play, you'll feel that bar up on the bottom screen, and if you can get to the end of the level with a gold medal, that's what you're aiming for.
Already I'm kind of discovering it's a momentum game in a way, like the ball's staying higher without me boosting at the moment.
Yeah, so at the moment you've got the spring pickup, which means that it will give you auto boost for, there's a little countdown above the bed, and that will determine how long you're auto bouncing for or boosting. You normally boost by tapping the lower screen when you impact the bed, and that will allow you to reach the higher blocks. And so this is the first level of the game, so it really just covers the basics of building up the score, breaking the blocks, learning how to boost. We've got 56 levels in the game, over 8 different regions, and we've got lots of different types of gameplay that hopefully we'll get a chance to show off. We've got 8 bosses for each region, and lots of different contraptions and various different elements as you play through.
I'm already finding it relatively tricky.
Yeah, it does get quite fast and hectic.
So I'm using the stylus at the moment. Is that the control scheme you recommend? Ultimately?
Yeah, to be honest, it was designed originally as a touchscreen game. So if you just tap the screen there, you stop that's like a bonus ending to the level. But yeah, it was designed as a touchscreen game. We do have controls. You can control the bed with the D-pad and circle pad. We've got various different sort of combinations of buttons. If you'd rather use the shoulder buttons or the face buttons to boost, you can do that as well. But I'd say that the touchscreen's definitely the way to go. So as all the levels progress, we kind of try and introduce a new element, a new contraption or game mechanic. So this second level, because this is the first region where we're introducing the game, now we introduce bumpers. So things get a little bit more kind of randomized. You'll hit them and Siesta will ping off at different angles. But this first Kahuna Bay, the first region in the game, is really just about kind of getting to grips with the controls. And you'll see later levels we start to sort of introduce some interesting things like chain reactions and combos, and there's also a multi-ball as well with using the Fiesta characters.
Even the sort of simple thing of side-scrolling is sort of shakes it up quite a lot.
Yeah, a lot of people have said that, and the main reason for that originally was this idea of getting away from a block breaker being an arena-based game. And the great thing about it side-scrolling is you can actually miss blocks. So the replay value suddenly then, learning the layouts of the level, going back to previous levels and remembering where things are, and perhaps a shot that will give you a higher score. So the scrolling definitely adds, a nice element. Well, good catch.
I think that's where the stylus kicks in.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have saved that initially.
That's right. Yeah, it does become hard with the circle pad. So yeah, we're trying to appeal to quite a broad audience with Siesta Fiesta. I mean, obviously there's a classic arcade game element, and being score-based, we want to try and attract people that are into score-based games and classic arcade games. But we'd like to think that the game mechanic is quite intuitive enough for sort of anyone to pick up and play it. If you just want to get to the end of the level and progress through the game that way, you can. But obviously, if you want to go back and try and get all of the gold medals, that's really your hardcore objective.
Is it quite tricky to get all the golds? I haven't had one yet, and I've only done the first 2.
Yeah, it is generally, yeah. Our rule of thumb was to try and, every level you can get a bronze medal. And silver is, the kind of intermediate. The gold scores are really our scores, like the development team. Right. So they're the sort of scores that we've, really tried to work hard to get. So getting gold on all the levels will be tough, but like I say, it's one of those things that's there for people that are interested in, going back to previous levels and getting those high scores. So the last level on every region has a boss. Every boss is different in that they can be defeated in different ways. Some of them use sort of physics puzzles to be destroyed. This one's a straight up, you just got to hit the turtle. I can't remember how many times, I think it's 10 times, but you've got the bumpers sort of getting in the way.
Trying and failing to boost.
Yeah, it's quite tricky, this one. It's those bumpers always getting in the way. I think this is where like the physics element also comes into play, in that you could play this level 50 times and we've played it a number of times, and you'll find that in certain times you'll be in between the bumpers and you'll see sort of random things, or get one sort of lucky shot that'll manage to rebound on the turtle a few times. So the physics really do sort of help the replay.
Yeah, it's quite strategic. Oh.
Nice. Oh, a few more shots. So all the bosses are time-based. So unlike the other levels where you're trying to score as many points as possible on the boss levels and some of the other levels later on, it's all about trying to complete them as quickly as you can. Again, the gold scores are really hard to get, but once you've worked the strategy of the boss, you have a much better chance of getting it. So this is Balloon Lagoon, the second region in the game. And here we introduce like the water blocks. So these are effectively normal blocks, but you pass through them without rebounding. And this not this particular level, but on this region we also have like balloon bellows as well, where you have to hit the underside to blow up the balloons for sort of bonus points.
And is this a game that runs at 60 frames the whole time? I know that's something you guys were aiming for.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, that's one of the... being a game that sort of requires that finesse with the controls, we were really set on trying to keep it running at 60 frames. So, yeah, it runs at 60, and I think that's something that we unfortunately haven't really been able to show off in our game trailers so far, because of the restrictions with 30 frames a second. But I think when people see it running, especially combined with the actual 3D, the depth, hopefully it works well.
Yeah, because there's a lot going on in the background.
Well, it's worth talking about the 3D effect as well, because I think a lot of people are a little bit turned off by always having 3D on, eye strain and things like that. And what we've tried to do is, instead of things popping out of the screen, we set our forward level of the gameplay at the screen level, and then everything is pushed into the screen, so it's like you're looking into the world. So it avoids... The eye strain really comes from things that are very close to you as the player. So it makes a really nice effect with the 2D graphics as well, with the parallax effect. But also, it does help with the eye strain, the fact that we're pushing everything backwards rather than having stuff popping out. In terms of the visuals, there's been lots of different inspirations. From the sort of classic old platform games to more recent things like the Rayman series. I think a lot of people have sort of picked up on that, the inspiration with the latest Rayman games, Origins and Legends, and we've sort of gone for that, very bright, colourful, bold, cartoony style. It's a very slapstick, fun, sort of energetic game, really. So by this point, obviously, you've covered a lot of ground with different mechanics and different obstacles and contraptions. The fire blocks let you set off chain reactions. So by boosting into that fire block, you'll be able to trigger a load of blocks blowing up in one continuous line. And then later on we get more complex, where we start having fire blocks triggering other fire blocks, so you can sort of set up these miniature puzzles within the level. And by the way, those are sour crates, so those are to be avoided.
Yeah, I had some of those earlier.
So that's where the boost comes in, because naturally you'll try and boost as much as you can, but there are some instances where you actually don't want to boost. You want to try and just regular bounce to miss the blocks that you're not supposed to hit.
A bit of the level sort of was in the foreground there. Do you try and distract the player to up the challenge?
A little bit. That was more just for the visual effect rather than necessarily trying to distract, but there are definitely moments where we've got a lot more foreground elements than others. Neon Cove is like a cave interior level, and that's got a lot of rocks and things that pass in front of the player, but hopefully we tried not to have those elements get in the way of the game too much. We've also got a combo system in there as well, so we have like rebound bonuses where if you, in a single bounce, if you manage to hit, I think it's 5, 10, 15 objects in a single bounce, you'll actually trigger a combo. So in instances like this, if you can get on top and you can keep him bouncing away, there's a good chance you'll get a higher score because of that. So there's a strategy to it as well. Yeah, it's not easy. But it's just something there again for the advanced players, you know, if you want to go back to a level and try and get every single point out of the level that you can, the combos are there as well.
I guess as these levels progress, it does become more strategic though. So
Yeah.
learning when to go for a safe boost and then a normal.
Definitely, yeah, that's a big part of it, yeah.
Is there another particularly enticing boss we should look at?
We've got, if you go back to the previous region, on the last level of that one there,
Okay.
this one's quite a tricky one, but this introduces we've got various different beds throughout the game as well, and this introduces the party popper bed.
Right.
It's the same controls, you're dragging left and right to control it, except you're tapping the screen to fire. And your objective here is to try and break through those blocks, get up there and, you know, continually hit the boss until he breaks apart. So you kind of start the level trying to clear as many blocks as you can and then hopefully creating a path for you to get through. Nice. Oh, close. Obviously becomes a lot easier when the blocks are gone. You can sort of trail the boss and try and fire at him. But it's going to be really interesting to see what the community does with, like you said, with scores and times, because we know the sort of times that we can get on some of these levels. So I'm sure there'll be people that are playing it that will, you know, beat our times by quite a lot.
Not me, but it's fun. And you reckon people will switch? Like at the moment I'm playing just with the stylus, but I guess there's the option to try different combinations of stylus and buttons.
So yeah, the good thing is we don't actually have controls selectable in a menu. They're all active on the fly. So if you do want to switch to another control system, it's just a case of using the different controls. So they're always active. So yeah, if you did get to a certain boss or a certain level in the game and feel more comfortable using the pad to aim, you've always got the option to just do that. You know, put the stylus away and just switch to different controls.
We've got it in 2D at the moment, but how have you incorporated different size screens with 3D? Is that
3D it wasn't necessarily a challenge. Our biggest thing was mapping out the levels to make sure that we had the right amount of depth.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, just making sure that we didn't create too much eye strain. So making sure that everything was pushed to the background rather than forward. If you push the start button, you can actually quit out. And so another good level, if you go to the next environment. So this is Neon Cove. You can try this one. This is where we introduce switch blocks on this level here.
okay?
It's a sort of classic Mario platform game element where you're actually having to turn the blocks on. It's also worth mentioning that for each region, not all the regions stay the same, so we've actually got kind of sub-levels within the regions themselves. So there are levels in Neon Cove where we sort of turn the lights off and it all becomes luminous. There are levels on the first environment, Kuna Bay, where you're actually surfing on a giant wave. So we try to add as much visual variety within those regions, so it's not just the same set of art across all of those levels for that particular world.
I guess that's where platform inspiration maybe comes from, and that you're trying to not just have themed worlds, but enough variety to keep people...
Yeah, I think replay value was definitely a big part of the design, and that's where the original design came from, is trying to sort of take that classic arcade gameplay and give it a lot of replay value with the scoring and the physics. And visually as well, that is always a challenge, is to try and keep things visually exciting.
Oh.
Nearly. Oh.
Oh, God, wrong. You guys, I imagine, would have been trying to go for quite a bit of challenge by this point.
Yeah, and also you've always got the option to unlock the next level. You don't have to get a certain score.
Okay.
At this build has got all the levels unlocked, but they are locked for single player, and you just have to beat a level to unlock the next one. So once all the levels are unlocked, if you do want to come back, or you want to master that particular level and that layout, so a lot of it is knowing about what's coming up and knowing how to sort of tackle a certain part of the stage and when to boost and when not to. And naturally you become better at the game the more you play it anyway, so you'll start to be able to pull off moves that perhaps you couldn't when you were first playing it. So
Great. And this is coming pretty soon.
Yeah,
August.
we're hoping to launch on the 25th of July.
Okay.
That's our current date. We're just in lot check at the moment for Europe. Hopefully, fingers crossed, if that goes through, then it will be 25th. If not, it'll be early August at the latest.
Okay.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you.